Okay, this is Josh. We're going to be doing the chapter review for chapter 8, I guess I should say. I did write down most of the homework. Yeah, there's a couple extras, but I tried to touch on like the main problems, the main things that you'll need to know in order to understand how to pass through this chapter on factoring, trinomials, and everything in between, okay? Like I said, we're trying to keep this because it's online learning. We want to keep this very streamlined. The basic concepts, the basic ideas, are you getting the basics of this? And that's our goal, okay? So we're not going to make anything too crazy. We're not going to do any super difficult, tricky math problems. We're not going to go too far in depth on the test because we're missing that whole component of like the one-to-one interaction in a classroom, okay? So I wrote down a bunch of the practice problems. I'm going to work through these. I'm going to go pretty fast, okay? By this time, you should understand the basics of what I'm doing. If you've already done them, that's awesome. If you haven't, then maybe just watch me do them. But it's so much better if you try and do these on your own and then see how how it all kind of works out in the end. Do you know this stuff or not? Okay, this first one here, we're adding two different polynomials. The main thing you got to be careful with is when there's a negative in the middle. This one has a plus. So because there's a plus, we're just adding like terms. If you want, you can rewrite it. If you want, you can just, some people like to rewrite it as this plus this, and then just add another plus sign, and then do this minus this plus this. Nothing changes. All you do is combine. So for me, it's a little bit quicker if I just kind of match up the stuff that's similar and then reorder it. On the test, I would not take off points for having them in the wrong order, just because, again, like this is you doing your best with this stuff. If you can match up and get the right terms with the right plus or minus symbol in front of it, that's good enough for me. So let's see here. X minus 3x is negative 2x's. 5 plus 7 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. And then I got an x squared. Could I reorder it? Yes. X squared minus 2x plus 12. Circle your answer. Done. Move on to the next one. Kind of like me. All right. So let's see here. Our next guy. Oh my gosh, this one is like super big. I want to do at least one of these just to talk about it, but the one in the book was like super gigantic. What is that? 7m 8n squared plus 3n minus, and then negative 2n squared plus 4m minus 3n. Okay, the main thing for this one is you got to be careful with that, all right? In class, I like to talk about how when there's a minus sign, you distribute the minus sign to all three parts. Or if it helps you, you could look at it as a negative 1 and say negative 1 times this, negative 1 times that. Whatever works better for your brain, do it. So the front part just stays the same because I don't do anything to it. So I have 7m minus 8n squared plus 3n. And now I'm going to rewrite that next segment here. I got negative times negative, which is positive. And that becomes a positive 2n squared, a minus 4m, and a plus 3n. And now I'm combining like terms. I like to put lines to them because I think it helps me to understand like what's getting matched to what. And especially really that you're going to get problems like this later on in the book. And all they do is they just give you even more things you have to combine. So it's not like it's harder. It just has more stuff you have to match up. So cross them out as you go. Connect them like I do. Whatever's going to work for you. It looks like that guy, and then this guy, and this guy. And then if it's a negative, sometimes I'll even do my little dots just to remind myself that the negative sign goes with it. 7m's minus 4nm's is 3m's. Negative 8n squared plus 2n squared is negative 6n squared. 3n plus 3n is 6n. Okay, now on these problems, let me just double check here. It's just asking you to find the sum or the difference. They're not asking you to factor this thing or do anything else. So on tests like this, you just got to make sure you really read the directions, because I don't want you going crazy and going, oh, now I can pull out a 3. Now I can do this. Now I can foil this thing. Like just slow your roll, do what it asks, okay? Because now, like I've said in class, you're getting to where there's so much stuff in your brain that you start to overthink things and you start just doing extra stuff just because you know it can be done. But stop where it asks you to stop. And in this one, it just said, find the sum or the difference, add or subtract. Once you have your answer, yeah, you could put them in the new order, negative 6n plus 3m, I guess m then n because it's alphabetical. You could do that, okay? All right, let's keep on going. Like I said, I want to go kind of quick through these. At this point, you should understand or have a good general understanding of these. And so I shouldn't be really like teaching anything new. X minus 3, x squared plus 5x minus 6. All right. Can I FOIL this thing? No, I can't. All right. The main reason is because I can't. FOIL means that you have two binomials, and this guy is a trinomial. So I have to go to my other method, which is just to distribute and multiply. Now I know that takes a long time, but give yourself space, make sure you have lots of room, and just write out all your parts and then match them up and combine like terms. I'm going to distribute the x to all three. I got x to the third, 5x squared, minus 6x. If you're not sure how I'm getting these parts, just pause the video, think it through. Go, how did Josh get x to the third? Oh, it's because it's x times x squared, which gives him that. And then I have a plus, right? 5x squared. And then I'm just continuing to move on. The next part now, I got to be careful. It's a negative. Negative 3 times that is negative 3x squared. And then minus 15x. And then plus 18. Oops. 18. There you go. And now let's combine like terms. And I did say, you know, some students like to cross them out as they go. I usually like to make my lines because it lets me see everything rather than just, you know, because the minute you start crossing stuff out, like if you make a mistake at that row, now you got to like rewrite it, or you got to redo this part again and be like, oh, like I missed something in there. And it's very hard to work when you've crossed out stuff or scratched things out. So I'm always very wary. I'd rather take a more conservative method, which is to just mark stuff up in terms of like connecting things that are common or similar. And so I have this guy, and that's it. So I have x to the third plus 5x squared minus 3x squared is plus 2x squared. And then I have negative and negative, so that's I'm adding, so it's a negative. What's that? 21x, and then plus 18. Let's just take a look at that guy. That guy was like super big. X to the third plus 2x squared minus 21x plus 18. Okay, looks like we're still good. Okay. Again, slow the video down if you need to. Circle your answers step by step, okay? Watch what I'm doing. I'm just showing all my work every single time. I'm not skipping steps. I'm not doing stuff in my head. And I still finish that problem, you know, within like, what, 2 minutes or so? Granted, I've done them before. I've seen them, so I'm a little bit faster. But at some point, you'll be able to work at that pace as well. X plus 3 squared, it's going to say multiply, or what else could I say? Oh, find the product, right? Because you're multiplying. Just remind yourself when you see this and you're not sure what to do, remember, oh yeah, this guy is what's going to be important. And that tells me how many of these there are. X plus 3, X plus 3. Now do you know what to do? Yes. FOIL. Okay, and we end up with x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9. So we have x squared plus 6x plus 9 as our final answer. Again, I know I did that really fast, but the point is for you to try these, watch what I did, and then see how I combine the terms. Okay? All right. This one was a little bit tricky just because they don't give you a lot of information. You're used to seeing more stuff. And so sometimes when students just see the 2 up there, they're like, what do I do? And the biggest mistake that I see is they take that 2 and they distribute it to both of these, and they write this answer as x squared plus 9. It's totally wrong, okay? You can't just distribute the 2 to both parts because you're not using the mathematical methods that we've all agreed on. Okay, so that's wrong. Bad. Don't do it. Okay, let's keep on going. Moving right along. Let's see here. Oh man, we're already like way down here. 5xy minus 10x. Okay, On this one, you are asked to factor each polynomial, okay? The minute you see factor, you got to think to yourself, what? Exactly. What can I pull out before I actually do my, make it into binomials or do some cool stuff, right? What can I pull out of both parts completely or evenly or equally before I start to work on this? Is there a common number that I can pull out of both? Yes, 5. Is there a certain amount of x's that I can pull out of both of these? Yes, I can pull 1 out. Whatever's left, you just write in the parentheses. So in the front, I would just have a y. In the back, I'd have a 2. And that's your answer. Okay? I know some people are like, there's no way, dude, Josh, that can't be that simple, man. Come on, all you did was pull out a 5 and an x and that's it? Yes, okay? The whole point of this chapter is you're learning all these little intricate rules, things you can do to manipulate the problem. Then you'll be asked, hey, now that you know that, can you apply it to something else? So this is important. These are good things to know. And I know it's a lot to keep in your head on a test, but just take it step by step. Go back and watch some of my other videos if you need to. I even have a bunch more in my practical math series when I talk about some of these different types of problems. Try those ones as well. There's extra ones in the book. There's the extra reteachings in your OneNote. Okay, there's a lot of resources out there for you. 15x squared plus 7x minus 2. What are we being asked to do here? Factor each trinomial. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is look at it. Is there a number that I can pull out of each part? No. Now I got to figure out my factors here. So what makes a 15? 15 and 1, 5 and 3. What makes a 2? Just 2 and 1. So, okay. Now I know that I need a 2 in the back or a negative 2, okay? And I have a positive in the middle. So what do I need to do? What needs to go here to give me a negative in the back and a positive in the front? It's got to be a plus minus, right? Now, I don't know what numbers are going to go there yet. I just know that in order to get a negative for the last, I need a positive and a negative. Now it gets a little tricky because I need to use all these numbers here and figure this thing out. I need a 7 in the middle. So let's see here. I'm going to go with 5 and 3 just because 15 is kind of a big number. And I don't know how a 15 would ever combine to make a 7 somehow. One of these numbers would have to be a lot bigger to subtract. So let's see here. I'll do 5 here, 5x, which means 3x would go here. And again, there's no method. I'm just guessing and plugging them in. And then I'm going to FOIL and see if I get a match. So now I have a 2 and a 1, and I need those guys to match. Now, if you're already looking at it and you're getting better at this, you could say to yourself, okay, I know using the FOIL method, I know the outside is going to have to give me some big number, and I'm probably going to have to be subtracting, or when I do this outside inside, I'm going to end up with a big number and a small number that have to equal a 7. So if I put the 2 here and the 1 here, I'm going to end up with 5 times 1, which is 5. 2 times 3 is 6. Can that make a 7? No. So that's out. So let me replace that and put the 1 here and the 2 there. I get, let's see here, I get 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. 1 times 3 is 3. Is that going to get me a positive 7? No. So now I'm kind of stuck. Now I know the numbers are all in the right place, so it's really a matter of just kind of switching some things around, okay? This is what you can do. You can rewrite it, or you could just be creative and kind of do a little switch like that. Turn that into the minus, turn this guy into the plus. Let's try it again. So FOIL, the front's always going to work. The outside is going to now be 5x and positive 2x, which is 10x. The inside is going to be negative 1 times 3, which is negative 3x. Does that get me a 7x? Yes. And so I wanted to go through this and just talk through, like, that's my thought process. I think it works. And it's a little bit of just kind of this guessing game. And I know some people are like, I hate games. But you know what? Play the game, try the numbers, see what you get. Okay, if you want to use the book method, you can. It's a little bit trickier doing the regrouping, especially when you have different possible solutions on the front and back numbers. But if that's your method, then use it. If you have another method, then use it. Whatever's going to help you get these right. Okay? And then this one just said factor completely, so I think we're all set. All right. Okay. Well, we're moving on to that last problem. Like I said, I didn't do all of them because I wasn't sure how long this was going to take. And, you know, there's a couple in there that are not as complicated as these. I kind of chose the more tricky ones, and hopefully you've done this guy. The directions for this one said solve each equation. It did say to confirm with a scientific calculator, graphing calculator. Don't worry about that. All I need you to do right now is solve. Okay, let's see here. We got x squared minus 2x minus 24 equals 0. Okay, let's see here. Is this a basic FOIL factor kind of situation? It looks like it is. There's no number in the front, and then I just have numbers that make a 24. What numbers make a 24? I got 24 and 1. I got 12 and 2. I got 6 and 4. I got 8 and 3. Let's see here. Which one's going to make a 2? It looks like this guy is going to work. So let's just double check. All right. And I like to double check by foiling it just because that's going to work every time. I know I have x's in the front. I have a minus in the back and a minus in the middle. So this is going to be another plus minus situation because I want them to equal the negative in the back. I know it needs to be a negative 2, so I'm going to put my 6 back here and my 4 up here because negative 6x plus 4x, well, let's just do it. Outside is negative 6x. Inside is plus 4x minus 24. And so from there, it looks like I'm good to go because this and this is a negative 2x. Okay? And minus 24. So I've factored it. This is where you just have to be careful. It did say to solve. So now it's asking you, okay, what value would go here and here to make this guy equal to 0 and this guy equal to 0, right? We're using that property, the zero product property. So what number would go here to make this part equal to a 0? Negative 4. What would go here? A 6. So if you wanted to, I would accept that as your answer. If you want to rewrite it nice and neat, that would be fantastic. I would say 6 and negative 4. I guess you could put them in the other order either way. Okay, so my answers are 6 and negative 4. If it says to check, then just plug those numbers in and see if they equal 0. I don't think this test asks you to check, and so at this point, you are all set. Okay, that was a lot of math to do, and I know I went really fast, but at the same time, I just wanted to hit all these topics, make sure you've seen them one more time, and so hopefully you're ready for the test. You've done all these problems. They all make sense. Everything is great, and now you're ready to crush that test, and we're moving on to all kinds of other crazy math. All right, so great job on these. I will be seeing you soon. Thanks.